Please proceed.
Okay. Then the next one is regarding my self-importance trap. I think this has got to do with my fear of criticism again. When I consider myself to be very important, and I can't, uh, I'm not able to manage the dent in my image of myself, that I am not correct or I'm not performing up to the mark. So this is a self-importance trap that I define in my own ways. For instance, when I'm in a discussion with somebody, if somebody does not accept my idea, even that hurts me a lot. So, so I've become more and more aware of my self-importance trap, and I also tend to feel very good about myself in the things that I do. So if I do a painting, of course, I understand that it is not may not be very good, but still I feel good about it that I have done a good job, and I don't maybe try to do take the next step and improve it further. Similarly, in my cooking also, if I do a make a rasam or something, it tastes good to me, and that's all. I end the journey there. I don't try to make a better rasam.
Why did you say
Uh,
that? Okay, that's not that important. If you
that
felt
is
good
one
about
aspect,
it,
and then
how do you know that there is a better resume when you are already making a good resume? If you already know
just from the
there's a
feedback of
better,
others.
if you already know what's the better resume, you would do it. That's all you have done it. This is a,
I don't know.
this is a small signal of her higher standards of expectations and anticipations about her. I think, by the way, when you were a school girl, did you want to become a district collector or somebody like that?
Yes, I did want to, but I never tried.
But you really dreamed to become an IAS, right?
At one point in time, yes.
Yeah, and it was a remarkable time. So why I said so is because most of the brilliant girls and boys in this country, they set their eyes on Indian administrative service as the highest goal. Why do they do that? Is because of their capacity and their capability to aspire to that level. So that is basically the person you is. That's why. And so to think about, reflect upon that and get rid of that self-importance trap. And that you have to be careful. Self-importance is not to be misunderstood.
Mm.
Self-importance you may see even in a poor beggar. Self-importance is not about showing so-called shouting languages, arrogant behaviors, and all that. Most of the time, such people are very gentle at heart. That is why they shout at people. They don't care what other people think about me. Those who do not shout at other people, it is not necessarily because they are very nice. They do
Mm.
not do that because they are worried what other people think about them.
Mm.
That means their self-importance will be affected. That's why. The one who does not have self-importance will be very open, will criticize other people, will get into the bad books of other people. They would talk straight away what they feel like, etc., etc. So, as I told the other day when Mandra Rishika was talking about losing self-importance, at that time itself I intervened and talked about this. I told you, you feel within you the greatest entity in the world, which you is. And I quoted Jesus Christ, who was a fisherman and being tortured by the entire society. He said, I am the way and the truth. So, have that secret agreement within you. That is the requirement. But other things are not what other people think about me itself is an indication of self importance only. See, which I suppose you may be very concerned about that.
Mm.
Yeah. Forget about the so called other people. That is one of the strategies to get out of self-importance.
Okay.
Yeah. But at the same time, we understand the significance of self. Even when the
Of
entire
course.
group is disregarding you or rejecting you, let me say,
Mm.
because of your free behavior, I am sure if
Mm.
you are competent, they all know what you are really.
Mm.
Okay. For example,
Okay.
in an organization situation, a highly competent, confident person who has no sense of so-called self-importance, he or she may shout at people, talk directly, get into problems with people. She may not get a proper performance appraisal. She will be alienated and all that. But even when
Mm.
she is alienated, everybody else knows that this girl is somebody big.
Mm.
That is girl or boy. That's why I wanted you to see the film, what you call Gunjan Saxena. Everybody is trying to put her down. But they all know that she is really competent and confident. All
Mm.
those 11 men and 11 pilot officers, they were all shocked when this girl entered alone and walked straight to her seat. Their non-conscious had sensed to her gravity.
Mm.
That is why precisely she was pulled down.
Mm.
Everybody, especially in India, will be very happy to help and support a weak person because of what you call that protective spirit, that rescue to take that rescuer role. But in India, especially, if you are competent, everybody else will try to put you down.
Yeah.
Yeah. If a person is highly supported by others, that means he or she is weak. They take it a pleasure to protect her and give her some guidelines and things like that. They are happy with her or him. So I just extended a little bit in my response to what you said. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've also observed there have been some changes in my interactions and behavior. Usually, as I said earlier, I'm scared, generally scared of speaking to people. And speaking to people, I mean, in expressing my displeasure or uh, being maybe giving an counter opinion and
No,
not
no, no,
agreeing
no,
to.
no, no. I don't think you're scared. No, no, no. Uh, I will tell you. You are the
Mm,
one, you know secretly that not at all scared. I know you know. Don't tell me anything else. I know. I know how daring and bold you are. Okay, Anuradha? So you don't mind many people, you don't interact with them because you don't feel comfortable with them. Okay, you don't like interacting with people. But somehow you got an interpretation for that as if you are scared of them. That interpretation made the problem. You would not believe that. Do not underestimate interpretation. I told you the world is an interpretation.
mm,
The
mm,
other day I asked you a question. There is some feeling in the body.
mm,
On what basis you
mm,
conclude that you are depressed?
mm,
Yeah, that's all learning. That's all training. That most, do you
mm,
see the
mm, mm,
problem of the human entity is that it is a marvelously powerful sensitivity set of engines. That wonderful
mm,
engines are trained, induced, enforced in its developing time to create this kind of false perceptions about the self and others and the world.
mm,
The little boy or little girl fell down and she had that physical pain, and the mother or somebody goes to that child by the expressions and responses and the behaviors and the actions and the ways of relating to the child, along with the language, induces a great framework in the mind of child to be afraid of falling or afraid of pain.
mm.
For example, Somebody tells you, as you grow up in the society, you see media with all kinds of actors acting some stupid things according to the theater guidelines to create an impact and attention of the mediocrity. All the films, all the shows are made for mediocrity. Understand that.
Mm.
Great films do not have audience. Like that of Satyajit Ray or Yasunari Kavabavan, whoever.
Right, sir.
So the majority of films or majority of books or majority of whatever things are made and very popular in the world because they are for the majority.
Mm.
Okay, that's why.
Okay.
So what I tell is, everybody is making a wrong interpretation. Forget about
Mm.
that. Why do you interpret at all? Some feeling, everybody says, I am worried, I am afraid, I have anxiety, I am, or so nobody may say, I have anxiety. Or they make many statements about their state of being in anxiety. All these languages, all those languages stored outside and thought inside, they are all generated by some vague feeling in the body, wrongly translated, wrongly interpreted. First of all. Secondly, why do you interpret it at all? Okay, there is some feeling, some whatever tightness in the chest, some tightness in the abdomen. That is the referent REFERANT of the so-called worry or depression or sadness or anxiety.
Mm.
Yeah, and those reference, varied reference, ambiguous reference, unclear reference are stabilized by attributing an invariant name, depression or anxiety or sad. And then onwards, that invariant of sad, that concept sad, that mental conceptions of sadness is used to frame variations or continue or sustain those variations in the body. That's all.
Yes. Yes.
So just uh, just disregard,
Okay.
just disregard even when the body is in real physical pain.
Mm.
I told you I had an accident and my right side of the body, 6 places the bone was broken.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Immediately I had an image of a dog, stray poor dog running on the road, both the legs crippled. I am that dog.
Good, sir.
The dog has no doctors or hospitals. So I just escaped from the hospital, the famous Lissi hospital in Ernakulam. That's all. And I know many, many cases. For example, Jagan, who was such a frail, little, useless fellow, okay, who did not have the I told you, his mother brought to me saying that if he is, I asked her, what do you want? If he is going for a film, I am happy, sir. This was her response. Living in Ernakulam town, a 23-year-old boy, an engineering student, does not even go for a film. That is the kind of boy. And after about 1.5 years, one day afternoon, he is coming to my room. I opened the doors and I see him showing his hand, holding one part of the hand, and the other part is completely broken and hanging. And he's smiling at me and said, "Please call a taxi for me, sir." And I came here to take some books to take with me when I go to the hospital. And the 28-year-old, whatever experience of surgery, what you call whatever that particular physician, his name is Dr. Radhakrishna Prabhu, he called me to meet that person who made such a boy whom he said he had never seen in his 28 years of life. I mean, medical profession. That is the power of mind, which can really look at the creature as having a broken hand. That's all. The creature is broken, of course, the creature is having pain, of course. But the will, the observer, the attendant spirit is not ready to take it as a painful thing which can take control over me. That's all. Very simple. That's what Edmund Hillary said. At 3,000 feet height, my heart also was trembling with fear. But I just took the next step. That's all. All right, Anuradha, because you are triggering a lot of discussion. Okay, please proceed. Yeah.
Yeah, so what I observed was that even in discussion last few months has been an emotionally trying period for all of us here at my home. But there have been situations where I also noticed that I've been able to judge this situation very coolly and address what the situation was and respond to that, which many others in my family they were not able to do. So this was a change that I observed. Usually, I would have also got very upset or it would have affected my day-to-day functioning. It didn't happen. So
Yeah.
that's one of some changes that I observed. Uh, so these are a few of my learnings from this program. Now I had doubts whether I learn anything. So which this is what I just summarized. Is there a learning at all? Is what my question was a number of times. Then then I realized knowing to doing is very little. Did I actually convert my knowing to doing? Very little of them, and doing to being even very little of the my learnings. So
This
is there a
was
learning at all?
this was clarified even before. That being
Yes,
aspect
this
you
is
cannot
clarified.
know.
Yeah,
Even if you are a
yeah.
master artist on the bicycle, you cannot know what is the balance of the bee. Now, knowing to
Mm,
doing, that kind of a knowing, I always explained that there was not much of a knowing. All that you did was reflecting or focusing your attention on highly complex material. I did this out of my research and experience, which I am sure nobody in the world as of now has. Because when I analyzed the biography of the supermost geniuses in the history of the world, all of them had a childhood with multi-dimensional experiences. A great lot of them was born and brought up in what you call forest kind of areas, in nature process related areas. And a good number of them had not been even to schools. They were playing around with the birds and the seas and the rivers and the dogs and the cats. A good lot of them had greatly dangerous early childhood experiences. Experiences. And those experiences, many millions of others might have had also, but these few happened to sit down in a corner of their small muddy room and putting their head under their knees, they reflected upon why all this. Like that little boy, Nanak was telling Tera, 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 Tera. What is this Tera? Is he the only one boy who knows the number Tera or the word Tera? That's all.
Right, sir.
Is Steve Jobs the only one bastard? Or the one who did not know who the father was? Are those the only ones uh, who have been studied by the creativity researchers, identified as having difficult backgrounds? Millions of children. But those who reflected, sat down and meditated, why this soul? They became enlightened. They became great philosophers. They became great scriptwriters and musicians and directors and actors and entrepreneurs included. Last time we analyzed Narendra Damodar Das Modi. Even Dr. Manmohan Singh, one of the topmost brilliant person in the world, he used to walk every day 20 miles to and 20 miles fro from school. He sat down on the street light in front of his house to study. Again, the history of Dr. Awul Pakir Jainul Abdin Abdul Kalam also is very well known.
Mm.
So called knowing into doing. We have not been concerned about any knowing at all. Even when you said about referent and referent reality, I never insisted on knowing about it. We have never given any definitions, any principles, nothing.
Right.
In between, I tried to introduce little bit of a thing which most of you do not remember either. I had one in between session. Now you may remember about the 5 components of the human being: expressions, gives, actions, ways of relationship, and language. Most of them are not really grasped by you, because whenever there was an opportunity to refer to that, nobody said that, first of all. Secondly, even if somebody said it, they changed the order of that. They told only 1 or 2 of that. So there was no knowing given for your doing, but there were hell of a lot of concepts and moments of our process of interaction where it was for your originality to derive insights and clues to proceed further. That's why we discussed the parables used in the Zen monastery. The disciples were not at all expected to by heart the parable. Using the clues and the cues in the parabolic situations and characters and events and phenomena, they had to derive their clues for coming across Satori. And I am conducting almost an identical procedure. It is very easy to refer to textbookish learnings. Millions of books are there. And put them into PowerPoints and talk it out to you. That is what almost 99% of the so-called great training programs in the whole world. And I am sure only I can do this.
Exactly.
Making you reflect and allowing you to derive cues and clues about the greatest engines about the human entity, the greatest philosophies in the world. I can easily go on talking about interpretations of the Gita or the Upanishads and the other Vedanta of India, which we can go up till even 4 or 5 years. And I can easily interpret entire Tao of China and the Zen of Japan and Tibetan Buddhism. And I can talk about almost all significant philosophies of the world. But I have not used them even 1%, except to quote some most relevant things. I was doing something that the Zen masters used to do, guiding your reflections on the parables. And that will have not much direct consequences in day-to-day life, Anuradha. No?
Okay.
Even if you are working in some Harvard University Department of Psychology, it would have great applications. If you were a practicing psychotherapist, it would have had great applications. If you were a practicing HR manager, it would have some application. Even for an HR manager, some application. It would have not much relevance as of now, even for Tintin or Naveen. Naveen maybe little bit because he is meeting school students. It may have good relevance for Veena Ganesh, uh, but it may have little relevance for Meenakshi. And that you can see, Meenakshi, you know, I am Kozhikode, uh, some 80 whatever number of faculty members, PhDs from top universities in the world, and uh, in the IAM Kozhikode rating, consistently she is the top-rated faculty. So that is the advantage of this program. But Anuradha is, as of now, the 2 years you were working in a complex organization, but now because of what you call the COVID season, you are sitting at home. That is why you don't have an opportunity to try your martial arts training, Anuradha. That's all. So don't do
Okay.
uh, 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 irrelevant observations. Okay,
Okay.
that's all. Yeah.
Hmm.
Now, anything else?
Yeah, there's a lot more. Yeah.
Oh, I see. Uh-huh.
Okay.
No, no, no. I don't want you to discuss on that. Come on, go to the next one. You don't. That's again your
Okay. Okay.
over self critical activity, Anu.
Okay.
That is the evidence of your self importance. Who are you?
Okay.
Who are you? Some goddess or somebody like that? The normal people think a goddess is impeccable.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's all.
Okay.
You are not turning a blind eye. Do not be so critical about you. Okay, leave it. Be a freak out, eccentric girl
Okay.
from today. All
Yeah.
right, take it to the next one. Okay. Proceed with the notes. Okay, great notes. Yeah. All right, proceed.
Yeah.